filling up my Christmas list. My favorite time of year for Christmas will soon be here.
Hello everyone, so I'm currently in the car with Shayna, who's driving. We've got Casey, who's wearing a Santa hat. And oh, busted. He's busted. Festive. Oh, festive. I thought you were like busted. I was like, you are busted. So, okay guys, a couple of things. Today I'm going to be doing a short little story time. And this is actually my second time filming this. And the first time it was actually the opposite of short. It was about 20 minutes long. And half the footage was like corrupted because I was holding the camera wrong. And so the sound was just like silent for half of the video. The reason I'm vlogging this in the car is because I had to get up pretty early this morning and go down to LA because I'm about to get another micro needling treatment. So hopefully this video is not annoying, the fact that it's in the car. It's hopefully not too loud. Is it loud in here?
I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out. So we're gonna be vlogging tomorrow because I'm vlogging today, so that'll be up tomorrow. But I wanted to tell you guys a story, a little story time, like the title says, about my hip surgery and my knee surgery and what I've been doing lately, because so many of you guys have been asking from watching my Snapchats and in vlogs, why are you in physical therapy? And I thought that everybody kind of knew what was going on, and maybe a good chunk of you do, and maybe it's only like 4 of you that don't, and maybe only 4 people will watch this video. But to everybody who doesn't know, I thought I would explain to you like what is going on in my body and why I had a hip surgery and a knee surgery and why I'm in physical therapy and how I'm literally watching like magic and a miracle take place before my eyes. It's kind of nuts. So I gotta back up. I grew up dancing pretty much most of my life. I started dancing when I was like 3 years old, and around the age of like 10, 11, 12, I started developing some injuries. I would get water on my kneecaps, and my kneecaps were super immobile. I dislocated my shoulder. I always kind of ached, and I could never figure out why. And when I was around 14, I was at a dance camp, and I did a leap in second. To those of you that are dancers, it's just kind of where your legs are just like apart, like wide, but like straight to the side. And when I landed, my right hip snapped pretty severely, and I was in so much pain the rest of the week. It was dance camp, and I was just like hobbling around. That is actually a whole separate thing that I could totally tell. That dance camp was like the dance camp from hell. It was horrible. I got like attacked by geese and like fell in mud in a towel, got laughed at by everything. It was pretty bad. But anyway, snapped my hip, came back home, was in a lot of pain, and my parents took me to the doctor, and they did an MRI, and they couldn't find anything. You could feel the snap in my hip, but they couldn't see anything. And they were like, you'd probably just gotta rest up a little bit, heal up. So I rested and nothing changed. And over the course of the next 2 years, I was in and out of the doctors a lot because the pain wasn't going away. In fact, it was getting worse. So from 14 to 16, I was, like I said, in and out of the doctors a lot. And around the time that I was 16, my mom finally said to the doctors at Kaiser, she was like, look, she's not imagining things. This isn't in her head. We can feel the snap in her hip, and she's in a severe amount of pain. I want you to just do an experimental surgery on her because I think you're gonna find something, even though they weren't seeing anything on the MRIs. So I went in for like an experimental surgery, and this is when I was 16, they basically cut me open on my right hip, about 7 inches. They just cut and they looked around for something. Well, once they looked around, they found a bone spur that was nestled, which a bone spur is like an extra bone growth that was growing off the side of my bone. And it was like nestled or whatever the word is, like in between my muscles. So the snagging was the bone spur snapping on the muscle when I was walking or doing any kind of like, yeah, motion with my legs. So they like shaved off the bone spur. So they like, you know, like shaved it off, got rid of any scar tissue that had developed from all the snagging over the last couple of years, and then they stitched my muscle back together and then closed me up. So the recovery from that surgery was really, really hard. I was in a walker for 6 months, and I was in crutches for another 6. And so it was hard, but what was really hard about it too was I remember the doctors would make me feel like, you should be recovering faster than this. Like, they almost didn't believe me. I remember one of the doctors, this is random, like, they were like, there's no way you're still in pain. You don't need another round of painkillers. And I was like, yo, bro. I was like, I've only been out of this surgery for like 2 weeks, and they were like, well, you should be feeling better. I was like, I'm not even close to feeling like I was in so much pain. And actually now, which will be fast forwarding a little bit, it actually makes a lot of sense now, based on what I've learned from my physical therapist. But anyways, okay, so I had that. After the year though, I healed up pretty well. Like the snapping was gone. I was able to, you know, get back into dancing again. And I'm trying to even think where to go next. When I tell linear stories, it's hard for me to get like, it's hard for me to think linearly sometimes. Is linearly even a word?
I don't know.
We're gonna find out, aren't we? Someone will tell me in the comments. So 16 had the hip surgery, went back to dancing. Actually in the midst of that, which is literally a whole different story that I can also tell you in story time if you want, my sister Michelle and I, which is our middle sister because Shayna is the youngest sister. He's the youngest in the family, but she's the youngest sister and then Michelle's in the middle. Michelle and I both got really sick with like an unknown virus for like a year. And that was around the time I was 18. So I had like about a year or so of dancing before I got really sick out of nowhere. And got sick, got healed, long story. Once I was better, I went back to dance, and this has been a pattern in my life through all my injuries and sicknesses. When I get better, I'm like, oh good, here we go, back to dance, full force. Like I think of myself as still being an athlete, even though I've had all of this time off and I'm clearly not anymore, and I always hit it too hard. And so I think that's kind of what I did, combined with, once again, information I have from my physical therapist. But I went to a dance class and I dislocated my left knee. I was doing like a turn, but not like a turn like in jazz or ballet. I was just like spinning like over my right shoulder in hip hop class, and my tennis shoe got stuck on the ground and my left knee dislocated to the left. And I remember actually calling my dad and I was like, Dad, I need you to come pick me up in LA. Like it was a whole embarrassing thing. Like it kind of reminded me of that joke when Dane Cook talks about getting hit by a car and your shoes flying off and you're like, I'm fine, I'm good, where are my shoes? Like that's how I felt when I injured my knee, because it was so painful and I hit the floor and everyone in the class was like, are you okay? And I start crawling to the mirror. I'm like, I'm fine, I'm good, just keep dancing. I was so embarrassed. I was like, oh my God, I'm such a drama queen, but I couldn't get up. So I just like crawled to the mirror and everyone was like, okay. So it was really weird. But anyways, when my dad came back down to get me, he was kind of annoyed. He's like, can't you just drive? Like, come on, this isn't that big of a deal. I was like, Dad, no. And when he got there and he saw my knee, he was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, because it was like bruised and super swollen. And so after that, I went physical therapy for my knee, and I thought I had like healed my knee. And fast forward a year later, I was doing a show at Universal Studios Hollywood, and this is actually really crazy. It was like, I think October 30th on the 2 a.m. show, I ended up dislocating my knee again. And I think it was from, well, okay, I'm trying to think how to tell this. I dislocated my knee again, went to the hospital, whatever. It was a 2 a.m. show. I was convinced it was from the fact that we were doing so many rehearsals and I had already had weakness there, but like I thought it had been healed, and we were dancing in shoes from like Payless, which is a discount shoe store. It wasn't dance wear. So I ended up going back in physical therapy. I got rehired for the same show the next year, and in the exact same show, did you know this? That it was the same day, same show, October 30th, 2 a.m. show, the following, exactly 1 year later, I re-injured my knee. Isn't that crazy? Kind of creepy. I re-injured my knee again. So at this point I had dislocated my knee 3 times and just rested, took care of it, whatever. That actually, side note, plays into my YouTube story, because later when I went to Singapore, I ended up coming home from Singapore because my knee was hurting out there and I couldn't dance anymore. And when I came home, I had no clue what I was gonna do, and then I like started YouTube. But that's like, if you've watched my Draw My Life, you know that story, or you could just go watch my Draw My Life and you'll know that story. So, okay, I'm trying to think where to go from there. So yeah, so I had all these injuries. So I had my knee dislocated, my hip surgery. Oh, duh. I ended up having a knee surgery, and that was actually before I went to Singapore. The muscle that runs down like the side of my leg, they ended up loosening it with some cuts because it was so tight. They said that that was what was pulling my knee out to the left. Also my kneecap, like, you know, the bone you have in the front, your actual kneecap, part of it had chipped off, so it was just like floating around. So they removed the part of my kneecap that was just like hanging out in my knee. And yeah, so needless to say, I've had a lot of injuries and a lot of pain, and just a lot of ghost pain. I don't know if ghost pain is the word, or like just like pain. Like there will be days where just my legs just hurt and they ache, and my back will ache, and I didn't really know why. So about 6 months ago, this is now finally bringing it to present time. Sorry guys for the long blabber, hopefully I'm not driving you crazy. About 6 months ago, I was with my friend Rachel Talbot, and I had already been kind of thinking like, what if I went back to physical therapy, or like, I don't know, I was kind of exploring this, and I saw her and she was like, yeah, I'm working with a personal trainer and it's so helpful in my body. I feel like I'm getting strong in a completely different way. So I decided, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna invest in that. I'm gonna find a personal trainer that also has a background in like kinesiology or physical therapy or something, to where it can work on not only getting in the best shape of my life, because that's a goal of mine before I have kids. I want to be in really good shape, and more importantly, I want to try to find a way to heal myself. Like I feel like whatever's going on, this is kind of ridiculous. I feel like I could just invest money there and take care of myself. So I set up some interviews for physical therapy, and this is where the story gets crazy, and this is why I'm freaking out. So I set up some interviews for physical therapy, and I had 3 set up, and the first one on the list was actually a gym called Results Fitness in Santa Clarita. And oh my gosh, this is the LA freeway for you guys. It's a little bumpy. So they're called Results Fitness, and I knew about them because my mom is in a networking group, and Results Fitness, like they have a representative that attends the networking group named Elias. Shout out to Elias. If you're watching this, probably not, but hey. Got too carried away with my shout out. So I went there and I had a consultation, and I left the consultation just like so impressed. It was about like a 2-hour consultation for my mom and I, where they talked about goals and different injuries we've had, and we did like a body scan, and like they tested posture and did all this stuff. And basically what they do, if you go to this gym, it's like personal training, but it's like team personal training. You come in sessions with just a few other people. You get to know all of the staff, because there's only like, I don't know the exact number, like 8 trainers on the property. So you get to know all of the trainers within the gym, and they all get to know you. And basically based on your consultation and work with the physical therapy, because that's the other thing, they have a physical therapist on property, they develop your program. So all of your workouts are done like specifically for you, not just from the perspective of like, you're gonna get in good shape and get yoked, man. It's yoked, man. It's like, it's for you and what you're dealing with and what your goals are. So I started training there about 2.5 months ago, and I loved it. The attention that you get from everyone, from the trainers at the gym, their attention to detail and what you're working on, and their encouragement is just like so amazing and positive, and I am seeing my body change. But the bigger thing, about 3 weeks ago, I decided, all right, so I'm in training here, but I want to start seeing their physical therapist on property. So I went in and I had a consultation with Amy. Shout out to Amy if you're watching this. And Amy is actually married to one of the, like, I think Mike is like one of the head trainers. I'm not sure, Mike, if you're watching this, I'm not positive, but I feel like you're one of the head trainers at the gym. And she, basically in my first consultation, we met for about 1.5 hours, and she broke down everything that was going on in my body in a way that no one else ever has. Like, it was astonishing. She made it sound so simple in some ways that I was like, how has nobody figured this out? Basically, she said, and it's hard to tell, she also said it's hard to tell, you have to kind of like monitor and see, but she thinks that I only have a slightly shorter leg, whereas my leg was measuring 3/4 of an inch like longer on my right than my left. She was like, I think your body is faking like it has that short of a leg, but it doesn't. I think that your pelvis is completely twerked from injuries, dancing, who knows what. And she basically said, my pelvis is tilted this way, so this is the long leg, and this is the left side is a supposed short leg. So the muscle on my right leg, right here, has been so stretched up the side from mimicking being longer, from my pelvis being twisted, and so tight up against that leg because it's so stretched, that the rubbing is what developed a bone spur, which when I googled that online, sure enough, that is how you get bone spurs from, which is weird because when I had my bone spur at Kaiser, the doctor, the surgeon told me afterwards, we don't know how you got this bone spur, so in theory, it could come back. So I've just kind of been living in, not like living in fear all the time, but kind of like, when I feel snaps, which that was, by the way, the thing that really pushed me over the edge was my hip has been snapping a lot lately. And I was like, I haven't had that in like over a decade. Like, what's going on? So anyway, she said the muscle stretch, that's what caused the bone spur, the calcium deposit to build up. And on my left side, this muscle has actually shortened because the muscle fibers can actually shorten. And so it pulls my knee over to the left because it's so short and so tight. And it's made this side stretch and be longer, like the inside, because this side, so everything is pulling this way. Whereas on my right leg, which is my long leg, everything is loose here and pulling on the inside, and you know what I mean, like loose out here. Now the crazy part is, when I first came in, she was like, do you have back pain? I was like, not a whole ton. She's like, no lower back pain. I was like, well, a little bit, but really not much. And if I have back pain, it's usually my upper back. And she was like, that is so surprising, because what happens when your pelvis tilts, obviously your whole body would lean this way because you've got a tilt going on, but then you want to compensate, so you lean this way, so your body mimics scoliosis. Your spine ends up going over and then up. But it's interesting because my dad has the exact same thing. Like, he's got a short leg and a long leg, supposedly, and it's the same side too. And he has had severe lower back pain since his 30s. That's about when it kicked in. So I'm really hopeful. Hopefully I won't deal with the same thing because I'm catching it before the point that his ever kicked in. So what's insane, guys, is I have been going now for maybe 3 weeks, and I am out of my heel lift. I still have a full shoe lift, but it's about this much. She had me in a full heel lift and a shoe lift, equal to almost 3/4 of an inch for like the first week that I was there, and then she started taking me out. So I'm doing my exercises, which consist of like rolling out with a lacrosse ball, strength training for my right hip, and I'm watching my hip like even out before my eyes. It's absolutely insane. I've had this problem for so long, I don't even ever remember looking in a mirror and seeing my hips be almost even. And they're almost even, and I feel like when you watch a magic trick and you're like, what'd you do? Like, what are you doing? That's how I feel. And my dad's pretty excited too, because he struggled with the same problem for so long. And so we're kind of waiting to see how this all goes for me. But if things really pan out positively, which it's looking like they really are, my dad is going to start going to their physical therapy as well. And that excites me so much because he's had this problem for so long. So I'm just really, really excited, and I'm really loving my physical therapy, and I'm really loving my gym, and I just feel like I'm really taking care of my body. And I feel like my body has been like my poor little body for a long time. Like, I mean, like, not woe to me, but kind of, but you know what I mean, when you're just like, poor body, like you're taking a beating. So it's nice that like I'm seeing improvement. And it's funny because at the gym I told them, I'm like, guys, this is tripping me out. I've never watched my hips move. And they're like, cool, that's so awesome. And I'm like, you don't get it. Like, if you fix this, you're literally changing my whole life. Like, now I'm telling Dan, I'm like, oh my gosh, if I get strong and like healed, I want to start doing snow sports. Like, everyone I know out in Southern California participates in like snowboarding, skiing. Why are you laughing at me?
I just didn't know that you ever were even interested in it.
I would love to, but I have zero desire to if I'm in pain. Like, and not even just the pain, but
Are you gonna start hiking?
Doubtful. Doubtful on that one.
Darn.
I know. I actually would like to hike. I just don't have any desire to camp. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to stay out there and be like,
yeah,
bugs, bears, all that. Yeah. But I know, and well, and I never wanted to go snowboarding because it's like this constant fear of like, is my knee gonna snap? Is my knee gonna snap? And now that I know the physiology of what's going on, I've realized like, oh, it wasn't just like a fear. This could have like actually happened. So like, again, I mean, my knee popped out so many times and it just all makes sense, and the snapping in my hip, it's just weird. And she's explained how like all of the muscles connect. So like I would get locational headaches on the left side base of my skull, and she showed me how the muscle like wraps down around my back, down the side of my leg, and I was like, are you telling me that this could be from my leg? And she was like, I was like, oh my God, that's so weird. And the other thing is, guys, we're gonna see, she said like, we'll have to wait and see, but my dad has jaw issues, like it snaps, and I don't have jaw issues per se, but when she checked my jaw, she said I do tend to like, as I'm opening, kind of like shift to avoid like a click. And I told her, I was like, I've kind of always talked out of the side of my mouth, and it's kind of gotten worse the older I've gotten. Could that be from that? And once again, she gave me like the she's like, it could be. So we're gonna kind of monitor that too, and deal with that as we move forward. Obviously my top concerns are my hip and my knee and just feeling really good, but like, it's just so cool to have help and direction, and I'm just really excited. So if you, I'm hesitant because I don't want all my scheduling to be gone, but if you live in Santa Clarita, I highly suggest you check out Results Fitness. And if you're you need to go into physical therapy and you don't know where to go, their physical therapy department is just amazing. Like, Amy has just been so amazing, and I'm just really, I'll keep you guys updated. There is a small part of me, I think when you've been going through something for so long, there's a small part of you that's like skeptical. You're like, is this gonna work? But because literally no one has ever changed the length of my legs, like the hip shift, I'm extremely hopeful and extremely excited for 2016. So I will update you guys again down the line and keep you posted, because this will change my whole life if this changes for me. So yeah guys, that was so long, and let me know in the comments if you have any questions about any of the stuff I said, because I kind of rushed through a lot of things. Even though it was 22 minutes, I could just talk for a century. Also, let me know if you have any requests for other like stories. Dan and I were talking, I was like, I feel like this is like the Notebook. Like, I just want to get all my stories on video, so that if I'm an old decrepit lady one day, I can be like, there are my stories, that's what I did, like that was my life. So yeah, you just let me know, and we'll be back tomorrow with another Vlogmas. We're vlogging all day. I'm gonna look so gross though, because I'm getting my micro needling. I'm gonna vlog it, but that'll be super exciting for you guys. My grossness, and we'll see you soon, right, Casinator? Yeah, right, Shayna? Deuces, playa. Bye.
I'm filling up my Christmas list. It's my favorite time of year.